Well, hey, folks, what's going on? Decent day for a ball game in New York City. Craig, how we feeling, brother?
What's happening? They're
Not
showing
much.
it again now, but winning from before the game even started,
Yeah, I mean, I think it just,
setting the tone early, setting the
yeah,
tone.
absolutely.
Sam Maul in for the bottom of the ninth, Nick.
I like it.
Four run ball game.
I like it a lot. Reds are playing a billion games in a row, so opportunity to give some guys some days off is a good thing for sure.
Yeah, and Sam Maul only thrown 8 pitches in the last 4 days, so
I mean, him and Suter and Farmer are really the only guys that are fresh right now.
yeah.
And I think we all would prefer Maul over either one of those. As much as I do like Buck Farmer, I think he's pitched very well for the Cincinnati Ball Club this year. But yeah, I mean, he's going to face Grisham or a pinch hitter. Ben Rice is a lefty. Juan Soto's a lefty. So I mean, these are.
Well, he's going to start
good.
with DJ LeMahieu, who's pitching for Orlando Cabrera. So if he can get LeMahieu and Grisham, obviously then he's got an opportunity for Ben Rice to or whoever the Yankees send up in that spot to try and avoid facing Soto or Judge. But yeah, if one does happen to get on base and you've got lefty-lefty matchup against Soto, and then you kind of figure out what to do from there against Judge.
Yeah.
But hopefully we just don't get to that point.
I mean, you're either facing, Trent Grisham against a right-handed pitcher or, a right-handed batter against Sam Mole, and Mole's probably still better. So
that's strike 3. What are we doing? What are we doing?
It's a fourth, man. People got families to see.
Come on, Allen. Come on. That's a great pitch from Sam.
All right.
Come on. For those watching along with us, we did our best to match up, so we're pretty close. But full count here: DJ LeMahieu pinch hitting in the bottom of the ninth.
Bang,
bang, 1 out.
Bang.
Weak line drive to second. Nice.
What's the Cubs score? I need to update some scores here. 8-2. Wow, Cubs. They actually going to get a win.
Reed Mouse living his best life on the 4th of July.
15-31 in their last 46 games. 15-31 with that payroll. That's tough, man. That is tough. Really makes you, maybe question your fandom.
Certainly makes you question whether or not it's worth it to spend all that money.
Yeah.
JD Davis into pinch hit.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, again, I think these are still better matchups for Sam Mole. So.
For sure. Yeah, I have no problem with this.
Yeah. Yeah, you got that one. You got that one, Craig. Uh-oh.
Looking. Now they send up another pinch hitter for Ben Rice.
Yeah, I would think so. They're going to just run them all out there.
I don't know what their bench is looking like left. I don't know that they Jahmai Jones. So they leave in Ben Rice with 2 outs.
It's a good first pitch strike.
That's 2.
Oh.
Hey.
Wanted it.
Okay. Now come back in with your sweeper.
Bombs are going off here.
Come back inside with your
Sit
sweeper.
down. Sit down.
Just catch him sleeping with a fastball right down the middle, Nick. Right down the middle.
Craig.
Nick, the Reds just swept the Yankees in New York.
Can you believe it?
New York. Concrete jungle where dreams are made
of. There's nothing you can't do. Let's hear it for
the Cincinnati Reds.
Right,
and a 4-minute intro, baby. Let's do a show.
And a bench to bench. Change hit in the air to deep right field. That goes Clemente. And the save. He's done. Get out of here, baseball. It's gone. Oh, my God. Can you believe it? Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep. In the dirt. It's a wild pitch. Here comes Boston. The Reds win the pennant. Hawkins won the game. That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none. Welcome, Joe Orlando to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again. Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Chatterbox is a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded, the outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on, long drive, right field, and this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive. Hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club. Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb. Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again.
The pitch.
Votto swings high in the air, right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, "I told you."
That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the line, Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Red win! Win! Line to the right field. Genius, the first Red ever. With 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream beginning to a career of Jay Bruce.
Well, hey, what's going on? The Cincinnati Reds sweep the New York Yankees. 8-4 winners on the 4th of July, our national I don't know, what is it? Independence Day, national holiday. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But thanks for joining us for Chatterbox Reds live post game, whether you're watching us on YouTube, Twitter, or Instagram today. Appreciate everyone joining along as we celebrate the Cincinnati Reds. What a just unbelievable 3 days in New York. My co-host today, Craig Sandlin. How we doing?
I mean, we're doing great. Look, Nick, we went into New York hoping to take one game. We knew that we had a big homestand coming up afterwards. Didn't want to get swept in New York. And what do? The Reds go out and sweep the New York Yankees in the Bronx. Give everybody a welcome event to celebrate on this beautiful 4th of July. Hope it's nice where you are. It's beautiful here, 95 degrees, sunny. As soon as we get done with the show, I'm heading out to the pool. I don't know about you, but it's time to enjoy the 4th.
As soon as we get done with the show, I'm heading with the fam down to see the Dayton Dragons play against the Lake County Captains for the 4th of July tonight. So a full day of baseball for the Kirby family. But yeah, you can't say enough. What an unbelievable week. What a big road trip for the Reds. I mean, the Reds go 5-2 against the Cardinals and the Yankees, two teams that are in the playoffs right now as it stands today. This was a stretch right before the stretch that we're all hoping and praying could be the stretch the Reds go on a big run. And we were just hoping the Reds could kind of hold serve until they got there. And what do you know? They go 5-2 and just play unbelievable baseball. We'll talk about it all. But first, as always, let's get started with the box score recap from our guy, Craig Sandlin.
Yeah, big game in the Bronx. The final game of the Reds road trip featured Frankie Montas going up against his old team, the New York Yankees. Montas made 9 appearances for the Yankees in 2022 and 2023 as he battled his shoulder injury. On the mound for the Yankees was a familiar foe to the Reds, Marcus Stroman. The Reds would pick up a huge victory before the game even began, as Graham Ashcraft and Carson Spires would go toe-to-toe with two Yankees in an old-fashioned national anthem standoff. Ashcraft would outlast the Yankees players and picked up a victory for the good guys. In the bottom of the first, Will Benson made the defensive play of the day, robbing Juan Soto of a home run on the first pitch fastball to straightaway center field. Montas would strike out Ben Rice and Aaron Judge to sandwich the robbery. Then in the second, Nick Martini gets the benefit of the short porch in right field as he drives a 2-out solo home run in the second inning to put the Reds on the board 1-0. The home run, Martini's 5th of the season, bounced off the top of the wall and out. StatCast said the ball was a home run in just 7 of 30 ballparks. In the third, Jonathan India gets a center cut 89-mile-an-hour sinker that he drives to left field for his 6th home run of the season. The home run extends India's on-base streak to 15 games, and the Reds lead to 2-0. Montas allowed his first base runner of the game, a 2-out walk to Trent Grisham in the bottom of the second, but he was stranded at first base. I'm sorry, that was in the bottom of the third. In the fifth, the Reds would blow it open. India would single on a hard hit ball up the middle. Ellie would walk, and after a Jamer Candelario strikeout, Spencer Steer once again took advantage of the short porch in right to extend the Reds' lead to 5-0. The 344-foot home run was Steer's 11th of the season and would be a home run in 5 MLB ballparks, but counts for 3 runs in Yankee Stadium. Stroman would strike out Jake Fraley to end the inning and his day. Stroman, 5 innings pitched, 5 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, and 3 home runs. Austin Wells would get the Yankees on the board in the bottom of the 5th. Leading off the inning, Wells would take Montas to deep right center, a 423-foot blast. Montas would erase Orlando Cabrera and Trent Grisham before Ben Rice would add a solo shot of his own. He would take a 2-1 cutter, 407 feet to right field for his first home run of the season. Montas then walked Juan Soto, bringing Judge to the plate, but Judge would swing at the first pitch he saw, grounding out to Noelvi Marte, whose throw took Spencer Steer off of first base, but Steer was able to apply the tag and get out of the inning with the Reds leading 5-2. David Bell would leave Montas in to start the 6th inning, and Alex Verdugo would line a double down the right field line. Montas's day would be done, and Nick Martinez would enter the game. Verdugo would tag on a fly ball to Stuart Fairchild in center field off the bat of Gleyber Torres. Then a weak ground ball to Ellie De La Cruz off of the bat of Volpe. Verdugo would break for home, only to be gunned out at the plate by Ellie, closing out Montas's final stat line. 5+ innings pitched, only 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. Austin Wells would fly out to left field to end the 6th. In the 7th, the Reds threaten yet again. India picks up his 3rd hit of the day, a single to right center. Then Ellie hits one up the middle, 105 miles per hour for a base hit. Then after Candelario lined out, Aaron Boone turned to Jake Cousins, who walked Spencer Steer to load the bases, and Jake Fraley would come to the plate and drive a first pitch of the at-bat to right center for a bases-clearing 3-run triple, extending the Reds' lead to 6 at 8-2. Those 3 runs would loom large as Juan Soto would hit a 2-out, 2-run home run in the 7th off of Nick Martinez, which would have brought the Yankees within 1 run with Aaron Judge coming to the plate. Instead, it was 8-4, and Judge grounded out to third base to end the inning. The Reds would turn to Sam Moll in the 9th, and he retires the Yankees in order to finish off the sweep for the Reds over the Yankees in New York. This is the first time the Yankees have been swept in a 3-game series all season. The Reds improved to 42-45 on the season, while the Yankees dropped their 13th of their last 17 and 54-35 overall. The Reds return home tomorrow, starting a pivotal 10-game homestand to wrap up the first half of the season. They welcome the Tigers for a 3-game weekend set before welcoming the Rockies for 4, and then close out the first half with a 3-game set with the Miami Marlins.
Beautiful, Craig. Lovely box score recap as always. Let's run through some super chats before we get into some conversation about this game and kind of where things stand for the Reds. We'll start off with Ricky, member for 8 months today. Oh, say, can you sweep? Beautiful, Ricky. Bryce Sizemore, happy for Jake. Dude was stuck on 1 home run and 9 RBIs for so long, and this one belongs to the Reds. Yeah, what a big hit for Jake Fraley. That'll definitely be a point of discussion. They talked about on the broadcast today, kind of just some of the things that he's going through. I think it's easy to kind of forget that, how tough it is to be dealing with what he's dealing with his family, and still trying to play a baseball game every day. So, yeah, shout out to Jake Fraley for sure. Molly, 199 super sticker. I'm not sure what that means, but appreciate it. I don't know what a super sticker is. I don't know if that was a comment or if that was she bought a super sticker. I'm not sure. It doesn't show up on my end. Mark Fetters, Reds just swept the mighty Yankees in New York City. Let's go. And then Stacy Myers, go Reds, take down the evil empire. And Justin Edgel, happy birthday to the greatest country in the world. What a series by the Reds. Quake, Craig, cut a promo. Okay. Love it. All right. So, yeah, as mentioned, this was the first time the Yankees had been swept at home this season. First time they've been swept at home, or only the second time, sorry, they have been swept at home since 2002. Last time was by the Red Sox in August last year. Reds had never swept the Yankees before. And this is the first time the Yankees have ever been swept in the 3-game interleague series. Ever. Never happened before. So I don't know. Like, you can talk about so much, Craig. This is why I think it's absolutely stupid that we all do this, where we go, well, the Reds need to take 2 or 3 from this series, or they need to sweep this series, or they just need to win 1 game from this series. It's so dumb. Baseball's random. You cannot try to break it down in these 2, 3, 5-game samples. It's just not how baseball works, because you never know what's going to happen. The Reds have now won season series against the Phillies, the Dodgers, and the Yankees. They're not supposed to do that. If you played each of those teams 100 games, the Reds will lose every single time, 60 times to each of those teams. It's not how baseball works, but it worked for the Reds this week. Now we're going to say, well, you have to take 3 or 4 from the Tigers. I mean, come on. Who knows what's going to happen? That's just not how baseball works, Craig.
It's not how baseball works. I mean, who would have thought that the Reds would have series sweeps or series wins over 3 of the best teams in baseball? It was funny on the broadcast. They mentioned how big those are in case you happen to finish with the same record as those teams. And I couldn't help but laugh. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're just fighting for a playoff spot, but it is good to know that even if you do make the playoffs, you know, you've seen that the Reds have been able to compete against some of the best in the league. Obviously their record against teams over 500 is below 500, but they seem to come to play when the stage is the biggest. And we've seen that over Ellie's career. And it just, for whatever reason, the Reds seem to step up in the spotlight, and certainly saw it again this week with sweep over the Yankees.
Yeah, and I understand a little bit of like the Ellie conversation about how Ellie might be able to, step up his game a little bit more in the bright lights. I think I'm willing to give that part some credit. I don't know about that, or the Reds overall. Like, are the Reds playing better because they're playing better competition? I don't know if I buy that part of it. The Ellie, okay, I'll get that. I'll buy that piece, but the rest of the players, I don't know. I think it's just, some randomness of baseball. I think the next time the Reds lose a series to a subpar team, I think the narrative is going to be, well, they didn't get up for that series. Did they not get up for that series, or was it just baseball? It's really hard to know what goes into why certain things happen on a given night. But we'll talk a little bit more about Montas at the end. I mean, Montas was great today, but he also caught the Yankees at a good time. He also probably had some balls that were hit pretty hard that just found a fielder. That's how baseball works. But the Reds in this series, Craig, 3 home runs, or the Reds today, 3 home runs on 9 hits. In the series, 7 home runs on 17 hits. It's wild how when you hit the ball out of the ballpark, it solves all your problems. Almost all your problems are completely thrown away when you're able to hit the ball out of the ballpark.
I know, I was thinking about that earlier today and even last night a little bit. The Reds in yesterday's game had 3 total hits, but 2 of them were home runs. So for us we didn't even acknowledge the fact that they only had 3 hits. If they would have lost that game, that's a game that we would have bashed the offense for not hitting the ball well enough or whatever it may be. But the ball leaves the field, you get the runs, and the narrative just changes. And, we talked about it yesterday a little bit, but this is a team that's been struggling a little bit with power. So it was really nice to see the bats come alive this week in New York. I talked about it last night that, again, being a day game in New York, it's going to be hot. Ball is going to be flying. We certainly saw that. What was it? 5 total home runs today in the game. So, definitely changes the narrative a little bit when you're able to get runs on the board with the long ball.
Yeah, and speaking of the long ball, we'll go down to our DSC deep drive of the day, and that was Jonathan India. Jonathan India hit his 6th home run of the season, had an exit velocity of 103.3, traveling 399 feet. And our deep drive of the day, sponsored as always by Deep South Commodities. DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production. They specialize in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thanks as always to our friends at DSC. All right, and Jonathan India. So what a story this season. So on May 23rd, Jonathan India had a 74 WRC plus. For those who don't know, 100 is average for that statistic, which in my opinion, that's the best overall way to evaluate hitters. Jonathan India was coming off 2 seasons where he had a 99 WRC plus in 2023, a 96 WRC plus in 2022. When you add that to his defensive metrics, which by all accounts said he was one of, if not the worst defensive second baseman in the sport, I think it was completely fair to question, like we did on the show, if he was maybe even a big league player at that point. Well, obviously, since the last week of May, he's been one of the best hitters in the sport. He's made some fairly significant improvements defensively. Now, I'm not completely sold on his ability to be an everyday second baseman going forward, but I'm not sure that I can ever remember, Craig, a player with this kind of in-season turnaround that really didn't have some big, long track record. Yes, he had the 2021 Rookie of the Year season, but that was 1 season out of his big league career. He had 2 subpar seasons, and now he's playing like an all-star. The turnaround for Jonathan India this season is unlike really anything I can remember. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone, but right now in the moment, it's just wild to me to see how incredible he's playing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, you mentioned the last week of May and how he kind of turned things around. Since that time, since May 24th, Jonathan India is hitting 365. So, and we're talking about 36 games. This isn't even a short streak where he's coming on and he has a really good week or whatever it may be. When we had this conversation at the beginning of June, we were like, all right, well, Jonathan India's on a hot streak right now. It's great. Glad to see it. What's the long-term expectation? And now here we are a month plus later and 37 games later, and he's hitting 365 over that span with, a little bit of power. He hits the home run today. He's now got 4 during that span, 24 RBIs, and I think a bit of it, and I don't have the data in front of me, is he just feels like he's being a little bit more aggressive at the plate now than he was at the beginning of the season. We were having conversations early on, especially when he was in the leadoff role, about, he was being a little passive at the plate, maybe trying to work a walk a little bit more than we would have liked to see for him. And now we're seeing him be a little bit more aggressive at the plate. And it's resulting in success for Jonathan India, and it's really good to see. And he's a player that, I was in that boat too, so I don't, I'll take some of the blame here, but this is a player who was rookie of the year in 2021, and then after a couple of down years in 22 and 23, what we call down years, which were really just kind of like average years, they weren't even terrible years. People were starting to write him off and say that he needed to be traded and that he didn't belong on this team, and now here we are in the early July, and he's legitimately one of your leaders, which we knew he would be. But offensively, he's really providing a spark. He's had 15 straight games of getting on base. He's had a hit in 14 of those 15, I believe. He's doing what you hope to see from a leader of a ball club. And again, when you add in the leadership qualities in the clubhouse, along with the fact that defensively he's been very solid, hasn't made any or many mistakes in the field. He's a guy that now you're wondering, is he an opportunity to sell high? Is he actually a cornerstone that you can build around like you maybe thought after 2021? What does the future look like for Jonathan India? I don't know. But nonetheless, it's really fun to watch right now. And I think that's what's really important, is for us to just enjoy what we have while we have it, and let Nick Kroll in the front office decide what to do when they make that decision. And there's no reason for us to really worry about what happens down the road.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I don't really know what your long-term plan is with Jonathan India right now. I have no idea if he's going to completely come crashing back down to earth, or if he's just going to, he's not going to keep this level up, but if he's going to continue to be an above-average hitter for the rest of the year. I have no idea. If you told me to put money on it one way or the other, will Jonathan India from today to the rest of the season have a, 750 OPS higher or lower? I'm going to have a hard time making that bet. I have no idea which way to go. But yeah, I'm just going to enjoy what he's doing right now, because what he's doing is special, especially taking over the leadoff spot after TJ Friedl got injured for a third time this year. That was obviously a massive need for the Reds. It gives, I think, Ellie De La Cruz a little bit of an extra boost, having someone else at the top of the lineup that's hitting not just well, but very well alongside him. And just an unbelievable run for Jonathan India. All the credit in the world to him for, after dealing with a really brutal offseason where he thought he was going to get traded nonstop. We talked in the offseason about how, I was really rooting for him to take like left field or first base and kind of take that new position and run with it and have a great offensive season. And it's funny how things worked and how things kind of fell into place, I guess, for him to be the everyday second baseman. And he's been incredible. He's played so well that Santiago Espinal has been DHing, and I'm not even mad about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm not messing with Jonathan India right now. Like, I know Santiago Espinal is probably a better defender at second base, but he's played so well. I'm just not even messing with it. I can't even believe Jonathan India has got me in my dumb head to that point.
I love it, Nick. When we chatted this offseason, and we looked at Zip's projections, Jonathan India at the time was projected at 103 OPS plus, and that was the projection that we talked about. You and I both said that he would go over, but I think we said he would go over for a different reason. At the time, we thought that he was going to be kind of a slot-in left fielder. He's going to be a slot-in DH when the matchups made sense. And so we thought that he was going to be put in a position by David Bell to be successful, more successful than we've seen in the past. And that was something that I think we were both confident in, that we could put Jonathan India in a position to be successful and see some improvement out of him. now here we are. He's become your everyday second baseman, essentially. He's hitting every single day for a variety of reasons. And he's stepping up to the plate and showing you and rewarding you for that trust. And there's been some other players on this team that I don't want to get negative on a day like today, but there's been other players on the team that the Reds have tried to slot in every day, either because of injury or because they wanted to trust the player, and it didn't work out. But Jonathan India is working out right now. And over the last month plus, almost month and a half, he's been really the Reds' best offensive weapon, and it's been exciting to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. He's almost put Ellie De La Cruz at times on a back seat, which, as well as Ellie De La Cruz has been playing, and Ellie De La Cruz is obvious popularity now across the sport. Now, Jonathan India stealing headlines from Ellie De La Cruz. It's wild. Shout out to Jonathan India. Incredible job this year. It's been a lot of fun to watch. Nick Martini hit another big home run for the Reds today. That was the first run, got the Reds on the board. Big home run, taking an early lead against Marcus Stroman, who early on looked pretty good, I thought. But Martini entered today 104 WRC plus in his last 19 games. Of course, he dominated AAA. It's kind of been ho-hum. I know he gets a lot of flack at times. I've been a guy, I like Nick Martini given the options that the Reds have. I think he has more upside than a lot of other players have in the DH spot or as a platoon left fielder or however they use him. But a big home run today. I still think Nick Martini's going to have a run where he hits, 5 home runs in 10 games or 15 games or something like that, where he gets really hot and I think can really give the Reds a big power jolt. And I know it feels a little silly right now because the Reds hit so many home runs at Yankee Stadium, but that has been a problem, or a slight problem at least at times this year.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if this can kind of provide a little bit of a spark for Nick Martini. This is his first home run since May 23rd, so it's a little hard to rely on him for a whole lot. But if this can provide a little bit of a spark, and if he can provide some power from the left-handed side of the plate that the Reds have been lacking, I think it provides a huge boost to this team. And whether that means that he's going to get more opportunities, or if it just happened that today was the right day, or whatever it may have been, we'll see. But nonetheless, I think what was interesting to me, you had a couple different things early on that kind of threw off Marcus Stroman, right? So you mentioned he looked okay early on. Like, you've got the standoff before the game ever starts that kind of throws things off, right? And then you have the Reds challenge the very first pitch of the game on a ground ball where they said that Anthony Volpe was in the grass. So now you've got another delay. And Marcus Stroman responds well, but then he hits Ellie De La Cruz, so, you've got a couple different things that could be throwing off Marcus Stroman. And we talked about last night, he's coming off of an outing where he kind of blew up a little bit last time too, at his own team. And so, you've got the delay to start the game. You've got the delay for the challenge. You've got the hit by pitch. And then you've got Nick Martini that hits a home run in the second inning. And I think it was kind of downhill from there. You got the home run in the second. You got a home run from India in the third. And then obviously you put 3 on the board in the fifth and get to Stroman. And it was really interesting seeing the Reds kind of be aggressive early on in the count, early on in the game, try and get after Stroman. It worked out really well. But, Nick Martini, it's very telling still, though, that the Reds are, willing to pinch hit for him in the 6th inning early on with a change in pitcher. I think maybe that says a little bit more about their trust in Fairchild. Should he have to face a righty, then should Martini have to face a lefty? But nonetheless, I think if you give David Bell the opportunity to work the lineup, a healthy lineup and a healthy roster the way that he wants to, I think this team can be really good. But he hasn't really had that opportunity because of injuries and otherwise. So Nick Martini, if he can, put some good swings together here over the next, week and a half going into the All-Star break, it'll be a real boost for this team as they stride to get back to 500 for that break.
Yeah, Stuart Fairchild also, him coming into the game also helped their defense late in the game because he ended up moving to center. Benson moved to left for an inning, and then he ended up getting taken out of the game because I believe Luke Maley left the game injured today. So we'll wait and see on that. Austin Wynn's cleared waivers, so he might be finding himself right back up here. But I think that move was as much about defense as that matchup and not being worried about, late, especially with the Reds, having a pretty good sized lead at that point. Spencer Steer, though, now 7 home runs in his last 37 games. Prior to that, he only had 1 home run in the 40 games before that. So Steer starting to show a little bit more consistency with his power. We've talked a lot about, Spencer Steer kind of needs to be, in my opinion, one of the Reds' bigger power bats. Needs to be, I think, a 25 home run type guy to kind of help this offense, survive this season. And he's playing pretty well right now. Seems like Steer's kind of slotting into first base. It'll be interesting to see, if TJ Friedel comes back, if he continues to do that or not. I'm not really sure, but big day for Spencer Steer. That was a big 3-run home run in this game.
Yeah. I maybe you have time to look it up, or maybe off the top of your head. It just feels like Spencer Steer comes through in big moments. Like some at bats for Spencer Steer where it feels mundane or doesn't matter. Like he doesn't necessarily have the success that you're looking for, but then he comes up in that 5th inning with 2 guys on and puts a really good swing on the ball in a situation that really mattered. And so it just feels like Spencer Steer's really stepped up when it mattered for this team. And then, like you mentioned, he's become seemingly serviceable at first base. A couple plays again today where he was drawn off the bag and was able to make the tag. And that's a position that he's still learning and continuing to grow in. So, I think given the injuries and the fact that it seems like CES may be done for the year or certainly most of it, knowing that you can rely on Spencer Steer as your most day first baseman is kind of calming to me, especially as I see him kind of settle in defensively. But yeah, seeing the 7 home runs over the stretch, certainly good for Spence to get back on track after kind of what felt like a little bit of a slow start to the year.
Yeah, to your point, Steer over a 1,000 OPS with runners in scoring position this year, and what they consider high leverage situation, a 937 OPS that's coming into today. To your point on that, yeah, he has in those spots. I personally don't know if I buy the clutch stats. I don't put a ton of stock into them unless I've seen them over long samples, because I think that you can kind of get misguided on that when players, we're talking the high leverage. We're talking 198 plate appearances this year versus or over his career versus, like the low leverage or like 500 plate appearances. So I don't know, but yeah, look, he has it at big spots. And there is definitely something about like his approach at the plate that does seem like it, lends itself to a very consistent swing at the plate. And Steer's playing pretty well, and the Reds overall playing pretty well. One last offensive player I want to talk about before we get into the pitching side, and then we also have Jimmy Collins making his Chatterbox Reds debut. He's going to help us preview the Detroit Tigers series. Jake Fraley, what a massive, I think it was actually called a triple, 3 RBI in that spot. He talked on the broadcast today, and it's so easy to, I know we all, sent all the good vibes and everything early in the year about Jake Fraley and, the situation with his daughter. But as the season's gone on and Fraley's really struggled at the plate, especially with his just incredible lack of power this year, I think it's easy to kind of forget what he's been dealing with on a day in and day out basis. And that gives me hope that, maybe Jake Fraley can have a big power surge in the second half of the season, and kind of become that player that we were expecting. Because I thought coming into the season, Jake Fraley was the Reds' best hitter against right-handed pitching. And right now, I don't know if he's even in the top 5 at the moment, but a big hit today. Hopefully this can, be the spark plug that gets him going long term. But even more important than that, hopefully, him and his family can, find peace in the situation they're dealing with.
Yeah, they mentioned how after the last series, he flew home and then met the team in New York on the morning of the first game, and how exhausted he's been and how worn out he's been. And we've talked about the lack of power, and certainly exhaustion will do that to a guy. And no different for Jake Fraley. I mean, he's human, even though he's a professional athlete, like he's human. And so certainly would love to see more power out of him. But, after they gave that update in the fourth, he then goes out and he gets a base hit right then. And then in the seventh, he picks up that triple. That was his first extra base hit since June 14th.
That's crazy.
For a guy that really needs it, and for a guy who, over the course of his career has really been a very solid hitter and really kind of, has been a guy that you can rely on for some power and for some extra base hits. Like, for him to go that long without any extra base hits is crazy. And so, really good for him to snap out a little bit of that today, get that triple in a big clutch moment, 3 runs that ended up kind of mattering and not necessarily being the difference, but certainly changed the outcome of the game and the approach of the game from the Reds and from the Yankees side. So really good to see from him. And you could see it in the dugout after the hit as well, that his teammates really are pulling for him and want to see him succeed as well. And, that's one thing about this team that, I think you can see pretty clearly day in and day out, is that they're all together, right? And they're all pulling for each other. And it was really good to see. I don't think there's anything more you need to say about it other than, like, that's a guy that I think every single person that's watching this stream right now, listening to this stream on Friday morning, I think every single one of us is pulling for Jake Fraley and for his family. And hopefully he can continue to be productive at the plate, whether that's with power or not, to me isn't really super important, especially if some of these other batters can kind of step up from a power perspective. But most importantly, I hope his family continues to improve and get better. And, shout out to Jake Fraley and his family.
Well said, Craig. All right, switching gears. Reds are going to come back home for a 10-game homestand, and you need to get your ass down to Great American Ballpark, because these are big games for the Reds. I think the Reds, they do tend to play better in front of big crowds. I know that guys like Ellie De La Cruz have certainly stated that. So it'd be great to see the Reds really get some support over this 10-game homestand. It's going to be a big stretch lead up to the All-Star break. I mean, you could completely flip your season around if you go, 7-3 or maybe even 8-2 or something like that. So get down to the ballpark, and we're going to help you, Craig. We're going to help you get down to the ballpark with the Game Time app, because the Game Time app is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. That makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app, they actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. They've got killer last-minute deals, all-in pricing, views from your seat, and the lowest price guaranteed, and that takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Game Time has all-in pricing. You can toggle this feature, and it shows you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CINCY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account, redeem the code CINCY, CINCY, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And we also want to remind you that you can call or text 988 anytime at all, day or night. Especially, there might be some Yankees fans that have kind of joined the stream today. We want to make sure we tell you about the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, because it's a place for you to get support for anything related to mental health. Whether you're in an immediate crisis, simply wanting to find out how to connect with care, or anything in between, it's a 100% confidential, secure, and anonymous way to reach out for help when you don't know where else to turn, even if you just got dominated by Jonathan India for 3 straight games. To connect, call or text 988 or visit mantherapy.org to be okay, or to get help. It's okay not to be okay, New York Yankees fans. All right. Frankie Montas today. Cool. First off, cool for him. I mean, he's got to be feeling really good. I mean, this is a team that I think he got booed several times at Yankee Stadium. I think everyone that's ever played for the Yankees has gotten booed though, but had to feel good for him to dominate him. I'm not going to make too much about this individual start for Montas. When he left the game, Yankees had a 271 expected batting average. I think he gave up 6 hard hit balls in this one. The way he pitched to Aaron Judge, though, was remarkable. I thought the way he pitched to Aaron Judge, and really the Reds overall. I think when Judge get 1 home run was his only extra base hit in this whole series. I mean, that's you can't. You point your hands up to the sky and go, yeah, we'll take that, baby. But yeah, no, I think the way Montas is pitching overall, though, is very good. I don't know today individually. I'm going to be like, yeah, man, what a big time start, baby. I think he had a little bit of fortunate, but I think overall he is pitching well.
Yeah, I think he's pitching well in his last 3 outings. Now he's got a combined 5 earned runs, So for a guy that started the season off pretty well with 2 really good starts and then kind of struggled a little bit, it's been really good to see. And now in the month of June, he was really good. And that continues over into July. His last 3 starts, obviously all wins. His last 3 starts, he gives up the 5 earned runs total. So good for him and good for the Reds to pick up a win, because his last 2 starts before today was a 4-3 loss to the Red Sox and a 1-0 loss to the Cardinals. So good for them to capitalize on it. I do want to commend Reds pitching just in general for this whole series. I know obviously Aaron Judge got the 3 hits in game 1, but Juan Soto goes 2 for 9 in the series with 4 walks, and Aaron Judge goes back-to-back games without a hit for the first time since May 10th and 11th.
Oh, look at that stat, Craig. That's a big boy stat.
So you got to give credit where credit's due. They attacked Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge in big moments in back-to-back games went after first pitch fastballs, and in both scenarios rolled over into ground ball outs. And so, the Reds pitching staff, Derek Johnson, advanced scouts, whatever it may be, the Reds pitching staff in general, you have to give them a ton of credit for the way that they handled this Yankees lineup that's really riddled with a number of guys even outside of Soto and Judge that can absolutely rake. So for them to come away with a series sweep and specifically holding those 2 guys in check like they did, especially over the last 2 games, I think really needs to be commended. And, certainly gave up a little bit of damage over the course of the game with the solo home run to Ben Rice and then the home run to Juan Soto. But, I think most people will take a 2 for 9 series from Juan Soto and a 3 for 14 or something series from Aaron Judge. So I think the Reds have to be very happy with how they handled that. 0 for 3 yesterday and 0 for 4 today, and then 3 for 4. So yeah, 3 for 11 out of Aaron Judge. I think the Reds have to be really, really proud of that. And again, holding him hitless in back-to-back games to be able to secure the sweep, really big, really big.
A couple other pitchers that pitched well today. Justin Wilson, kind of been a guy that maybe was on the chopping block if there was one reliever that was going to get cut at some point for either a guy like Yasver Zulueta or Alex Young down at AAA or Tony Santillan or someone like that that's pitched well. Got a big, massive out last night on Wednesday night's game, and then threw a shutout inning today. Justin Wilson getting in the right direction, and then Sam Bull just ho-hum, continues right along, pitched a perfect 9th inning. Just a guy that's just been absolutely incredible for the Reds. I believe they got him at the trade deadline last year. I try to remember that. I keep hearing the Reds never made a trade last year. But
that can't be the case. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe must have got him somewhere else. I don't know. But, but nonetheless, big days today from Justin Wilson and Sam Bull. The 2, I guess, like real lefties, because I don't really consider like Brett Suter a lefty because he doesn't pitch like a traditional lefty. But the 2 lefties, big day today, Craig.
Well, and I don't want to overlook Nick Martinez. I realize he gave up the 2-run home run to Juan Soto, but David Bell made the decision to send Frankie Montas back out there in the 6th, which I tweeted this out, but like literally I had already drawn a line and removed Frankie Montas from the game going into the 6th before we even got there, because it felt like that was the move that would make sense for him to come out in that situation. But they left him in, gives up that leadoff double to Alex Verdugo, and then at that point in the game, it was 5-2. And Nick Martinez comes in and he strands the runner at third base. And so, that was a big moment to be able to get out of that inning without any damage. Obviously gave up the 2, but then, you talk about Justin Wilson gives up that single up the middle to start the inning, but then a fielder's choice and 2 pop outs, get out of the inning super clean after last night. Good morning, good afternoon, good night strikeout. And then Sam Moll, we talked about it in the pre-show as we were watching the game, a guy that, you trust in these situations, and certainly came up big with 2 strikeouts, both looking in the 9th. And Ben Rice just looking at a fastball right down the middle to end the game felt great.
Yeah, Nick Martinez, I want to save him because I was trying to look up his overall ERA since. I think Nick Martinez, I in my head I thought he hasn't been pitching as well as I thought. His last, I don't know the total amount of games. The last 26 and a third innings pitched, he has an ERA of 4.14, and that's including the first game of that. He gave up 5 earned runs. So really, he hasn't been pitching as bad as even I thought he was maybe in my head. But I was going to actually say, I was looking for a stat for him to say, well, he has a 6.5 ERA since whatever, but I'm not really worried about him because he was due to regress. He hasn't even really regressed that much. So I don't even have that to really even stand on. But this Reds bullpen overall, just the depth, especially down in AAA. I've said it a million times, but I've never seen the depth like this out of the Reds bullpen. And I'm really hoping that this is something that separates the Reds in the second half of the season, because there's not other teams that have anywhere close to this kind of bullpen depth like the Reds have. But I do want to go back to one thing you said, and then we'll get to our guy Jimmy to preview the Detroit Tigers series. Did you really have an issue with letting Montas go back out there? Reds up, were they up 5-1 at that point?
I don't know if an issue is the right word, Nick. It's not that I had an issue with it, but I was surprised, right? At that point, he had 92 pitches. Okay. He had given up 2 home runs in the 5th, and he was coming in to face Alex Verdugo, who doubled off of him in his last at bat. So it wasn't necessarily that I had a huge problem with it, but I was definitely surprised by it. And I mean, are you saying that you expected him to go even farther than that? I mean, respectfully, I think that regardless of the score, that felt like a scenario where David Bell's going to see righty-lefty matchup, a guy coming to the plate that had already doubled off of him. I realize you can't score 5 runs with a leadoff hit, but it just felt like a situation. You had Sam Moll warming in the inning prior. It felt like he was going to come out of that game. It doesn't necessarily mean that I have a problem with it. It is what it is, and it worked out just fine. But I think putting on my managerial cap in that scenario, I'm shaking Frankie's hand and I'm saying, let the bullpen close this out for you.
I'm trying to get another inning out of Montas there. Samuel was warming up because if Alex Verdugo had got to the plate in the inning prior, he would have been the tying run. But Frankie Montas retired Aaron Judge to get out of that inning. Obviously, if you have the tying run at the plate, you want to bring in a lefty to face Alex Verdugo, a left-handed batter that has massive platoon splits. I'm trying to get another inning out of Frankie Montas. This isn't Game 7 of the World Series. Alexis Diaz has pitched 3 of the last 4 days. Fernando Cruz has pitched 4 of the last 5 days. Sims threw 17 pitches last night. Your top relievers were all gassed. And you don't have an off day until the All-Star break. You're playing a lot of days in a row. I think this was a spot where you had a 4-run lead. You try to see if you could sneak an extra inning out of Montas. I had no problem with that. I know everyone wants to win every single game, every single night, and put every single thing into it. But it's a bad strategy over 162 games. We saw last year. We literally saw last year what happens when you have a gassed bullpen in August. It completely backfired on the Reds. So you have to pick and choose your spots. I had no issue whatsoever with Montas. I saw a lot of people did. And I don't even think you had as big of an issue as I saw a lot of people on social media. I'm just like, Montas 92 pitches. Like, he could go another 10 or 15 pitches. He's a guy that's gone into some deeper pitch counts. I don't know. I didn't have an issue with it at all.
Well, look, I think from my perspective, right? So you got through 5. You've got the lead. At that point, it was 5-2. For me, you've got both of your long relievers well rested, right? So you've got Brent Suter, who hasn't pitched since Saturday. You've got Nick Martinez, who didn't throw yesterday. So you've got an opportunity, if you need it, for 2 guys that can just eat up the rest of the game if you really wanted to. And so, I realize Brent Suter struggled a little bit and maybe they're just trying to continue to rest him. But like, realistically, in that situation, if I'm David Bell, especially with Verdugo coming up and in general, I'll just throw Suter out there, hope that he can eat up 2, maybe 2+ innings, and then get me into the 8th and 9th and figure out what I do then based on the scenario. Right. And yeah, obviously, if you can steal an extra inning, I totally get that kind of mindset. But I also just think you had the arms at your disposal that were semi-fresh and available to really be able to still save your bullpen while also making sure that you don't put yourself in a high pressure situation. And we saw over the last 2 games, honestly, Yankee Stadium can become very intimidating very quickly, right? So the Reds did a great job getting out of those situations both of the last 2 nights. I don't personally want to push my luck by getting into a third one on a getaway day. So for me personally, I would have probably turned to Brent Suter, see what he could do, hope to get 2+ out of him, get me into the 8th, make a decision then on what you're going to do. Again, worked out just fine. You got essentially 2 innings out of Nick Martinez anyway, and you pick up the win. So there's no problem with the decision. It's fine. I'm not sitting here angry that David Bell sent Frankie Montas back out there. There are plenty of other decisions that David Bell makes that we can get angry about and argue about. I just thought that in that situation, from my perspective, the momentum that you can gain by making sure that you pick up this sweep going into this 10-game homestand, you had an opportunity to utilize a couple of your long arms and get into this homestand with the sweep. And again, you got there with the sweep anyway. No complaints. I was surprised. That's all I'll say. And with that being said, Nick, let's go into this weekend homestand. And let's bring in our guy.
One last real quick point.
No more click points.
I got one more point.
All right.
We had to have something to argue about, Craig, today. We always get accused of we agree about everything. So I had to try to have something to argue with you about today. I do. My last point is I do think that you saw today that Suter and Farmer are way lower on the depth chart for David Bell than even Justin Wilson, Samuel, and Nick Martinez. I think that was a part of it. I think they didn't want to go to Diaz, Cruz, or Sims today. So that was part of why. And look, it backfired because, Verdugo smoked the first, I don't know if it was the first pitch, but smoked the ball
we
off.
We can say backfired or whatever. At the end of the day, they got out of the 6th inning without giving up a run. So
it backfired. It backfired because Montas didn't get an out.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah. And in hindsight, yeah. But I understood why he wanted to try to get that extra out. But Nick Martinez, as he did give up that 2-run home run, but he did get through 2 innings. If Nick Martinez doesn't get through 2 innings, then you do probably have to throw Suter or Farmer, or you have to go to one of those relievers that you didn't want to use. So Nick Martinez going 2 innings today was actually, I think, a pretty big deal. All right, let's bring in Jimmy Baseball.
Is it interesting to you that Suter has fallen so far down the chart? I know he struggled obviously in that game against Boston on the 23rd, but for the month of June, I mean, he had a 2.63 ERA and 13 innings pitched. Only gave up 4 earned runs over that time period, and his FIP was 2.79. So, I think he struggled in a couple of games. The Boston game, he gave up the 2 runs. This St. Louis, he gave up 2 runs. But like, those are the only 4 runs he gave up all month. Is it at all surprising to you that he's slipped that far?
Nah, not really. I always thought that Suter was more of a long reliever, not a traditional long reliever, but I think that's what the Reds wanted out of him. And he also might be dealing with something too. We never know. I mean, a lot of times the reason these pitchers aren't used is because they're dealing with something we don't know about. That's not really IL worthy. So, but I think Suter was always at the bottom of the depth chart along with Buck Farmer. Buck Farmer's pitches really, really well, but that's okay. You need those guys that are your bottom guys, that are the guys you just go to whenever the hell you want to go to. That just kind of eat the innings, and you use your top dogs in the more crucial spots. So yeah, I don't really think anything of that.
Yeah. And the ball was flying today. So, I mean, to be fair, if you go to one of those bottom of the bullpen arms, you give up a couple of long balls and that game changes pretty quickly. So what's up, Jimmy? Jimmy
up,
Clicks.
How are you?
Welcome to your Chatterbox Reds debut. I appreciate you coming on last notice. I don't really prepare for anything. I was like, you know what? I should bring Jimmy on. Why am I going to spend an hour learning about the Detroit Tigers?
Yeah.
I could just bring Jimmy on and let him tell us about the Detroit Tigers. So Jimmy Clicks. Reds 3-game series against the Tigers. The Tigers obviously had pretty high expectations coming into this year. Had a very aggressive offseason. Had a pretty good start to the season, but last couple months have struggled. Just give us kind of the overall feel of where things are with the Detroit Tigers. I see you're wearing a Pistons hat. Is that because of the Tigers' play of late?
Yeah, it's been rough. We obviously Tigers came into this year expecting to compete for the AL Central with a division last year that really wasn't all that good. You had a Twins team that won a lot of games, but at the same time, they weren't much better than everyone else. And the Tigers ended up finishing second in the last series. They took 2 of 3 from Cleveland and jumped into second place. So it was kind of, fans at least were very excited for this year. They made some additions in the offseason with guys like Gio Urshela, Mark Canha, Jack Flaherty, who's been phenomenal, but then Kenta Maeda, who's been the complete opposite of phenomenal, for lack of a better word, or lack of a nice word. I'm not going to say it, but it's been rough. They started out well. They were the last undefeated team in baseball. They had a winning record at the end of April, and really ever since then, it's been rough. They haven't won back-to-back games in over a month.
No, don't say that. Don't say that. I don't want to hear that stat. I don't want to hear that stat, Jimmy. Don't bring that stat out there.
Yeah, it's a stat. I read it today, and it hurt reading it, but it's true. They haven't won back-to-back games in a month. I don't think they'll win back-to-back games in Cincinnati either. So I don't think there's much you need to worry about there. But I'm excited.
We'll see, Jimmy. Baseball's a funny game. It's a funny game.
No, it is 100%.
Are you going to all 3 games?
No, I'm only going Sunday. I was hoping to go to all 3, but my birthday's actually on Sunday. So I came up to see my parents before to kind of be able to celebrate with them. And then I'll head down to the game on Sunday to watch Skubal.
Okay, yeah, that'll be. We'll get to Skubal in a second because I know that's maybe makes the more importance of the first 2 games for the Reds. But we'll start off with Friday night's matchup. Carson Spires going up against Reese Olson. I was going to say Matt Olson, and then I was like, that's not right. It's Reese Olson.
I wish we had Matt Olson.
Apple TV Plus game on Friday night. Olson's having a pretty good year, though.
He is. Yeah, Olson he's been incredible. He's continuing to go out there, throw 5, 6, honestly, shutout innings. Every time he steps on the mound, it's just the Tigers somehow forget that they need to score to be able to win games, no matter how well Reese Olson's pitching. And so he's sitting at 2-8 with a 3.32 ERA. It's been a little unfair to Reese Olson. So as of late, he's gotten a little more run support, but he's also struggled in about 3 of his last 4 starts. He got a win in his last outing, so hoping that carries over to tomorrow. But I think it'll be a close, low-scoring game tomorrow. That's my expectation.
Let's talk about Reese Olson real quick. Jimmy. You mentioned it a little bit. His last start, 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs. One of them earned, 1 walk and 4 strikeouts against St. Louis.
Yep.
This is a guy who started the season really solid. His first 10 starts of the year, 56 and a third, only gave up 40 hits, 12 earned runs in those 10 starts, a 1.92 ERA with a FIP of 2.89 over that time period. He had a 197 batting average against, and he was rewarded with a 1-5 record in those 10 starts. And then we get to June, and he's got a rough start to June. Goes 3 starts, 14 and 2/3. He gives up 17 earned runs for a 10.43 ERA and a FIP of only 4.73, but a batting average against 0.412. He's 0-3 in those starts. And then the last 3 starts, like you mentioned, seems to be back on track a little bit. 18 and a third innings, 4 earned runs, 1.96 ERA over those last 3 games with 20 strikeouts and a 191 batting average again. So, did you see anything from Olsen at the beginning of June or in general that kind of led to the struggles that he was facing, or any adjustments that you felt from him over the last couple starts?
Yeah, I think with Reese Olsen, at least the weight that he was carrying early in the season, I think it really weighed on him hard. And I think as the season went on and as the Tigers started to play worse and worse and start to lose games, I think he lost a lot of confidence just on the mound in general. And I mean, it's frustrating. He's having a great year. And the record just isn't showing for it. He's not getting any help at all. But all he needs to do when he goes out there, I know he said it before, he's just go and throw the best game I possibly can, and hopefully the guys help me out. So I don't know. I'm not worried about him at all. Whenever he goes out on the mound, that's a game that I think Tigers fans expect to be competing in, expect to win, and they don't win them a lot, but I'm hoping that he continues on the trajectory that he is going towards, because having him and Tarek Skubal, who I'm sure we'll talk about here in a bit, that's a great 1-2 punch.
Yeah, and for just to wrap up talking about Reese Olsen, 1 career start against the Reds last year on September 14th. He went 6 innings of 2 hit ball, 1 earned run. That 1 run was a Spencer Steer solo home run. Reds active hitters are 3 for 16 with a 188 batting average against Olsen in their career. So you mentioned Tarek Skubal. Really, I mean, at this point, I don't know the odds for sure, but one of the front runners for the Cy Young. What have you liked out of Skubal so far this year? We'll see him on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Tarek Skubal is the most dominant pitcher in the league right now. He's sitting at a 2.45 ERA over 103 innings pitched with 119 strikeouts and a 0.93 WHIP, which whenever he's on the mound, it is an expectation that the Tigers win a baseball game, and he gets out of pretty much any jam you could possibly get into. But it's he, like you said, he is I believe he's still in first. I think it might be tied now. Corbin Burns is also having a great year, but he's phenomenal. His fastball is touching a little over 100 now. I believe he hit a little over 101 or right smack on 101. So he's dominant. I'm just hoping that he stays away from the injury bug that is seemingly taking over pitchers across the league because of his velocity. But he's incredible, and I hope that you guys enjoy watching it on Sunday.
All right, so for the Reds on Friday night, Carson Spires obviously coming off a brilliant start against the Cardinals. 6 innings, just gave up 1 run. I think has been everything you could have hoped for in the Reds rotation. And I think a guy that right now, he's got to pitch his way out of the Reds rotation. For the Tigers, it's been really the Riley Green show, former top 5 overall prospect in the sport, having an incredible year. Kerry Carpenter is on the IL, probably their second best hitter. The Reds fortunate with that. Talk a little bit about Riley Green, and then is there anyone else that right now in the Tigers lineup that the Reds should really watch out for, or Carson Spire should watch out for in this game?
Yeah, Riley Green. Obviously, he's the Tigers' #1 bat. He's got 16 homers on the year. He was a double shy of the cycle last night in Minnesota in their 9-2 win. He's hitting 260 with a 354 on base percentage. His walk rate this season has helped him to be our most trustworthy bat every time he steps into the batter's box. He's hitting with an 851 OPS, a 137 OPS plus. I think with Riley Green, it's frustrating too, because he's sitting at a 3.4 WAR, and he's really getting no love across the league for the numbers that he's putting up. He's one of the best, I'd say probably top 1 or 2 left fielders in the American League, and I think that he deserves some all-star mentions. I know that probably isn't going to be the case this season, but with the numbers that he's putting out there, he's definitely the #1 guy that they should look at. And then #2 is tough, because we've lost a lot of guys. We've sent a lot of guys who we thought were going to be very prominent bats this season down to AAA with Torkelson and Parker Meadows. Those were 2 guys that the Tigers were really leaning on. Javi Baez, obviously not a good hitter. One guy that, honestly, Matt Vierling he's had a great year at the plate. He's got almost a 1 WAR now. He has 11 home runs. He already eclipsed his home run total of last season, yesterday actually, in Minnesota. He had 10 last season. He has 11 this season. He's usually hitting leadoff. Now he's made his way up there in the lineup. I would say Andy Ibanez, but I don't believe you guys are pitching any lefties, and he's most prominent against left-handed pitching. So he probably won't be a factor in this series, but I'd probably say Matt Vierling at the top of the order, usually having Vierling and Green back-to-back 1-2. That's where the Tigers have that's really the only spot in the lineup where the Tigers have been able to create runs, because once you get to 6, 7, 8, and 9, you're looking at guys that are hitting 140, 180, 205, and it's just no runs coming from down there.
Yeah, good stuff, Jimmy. So Saturday, it's TBA right now for the Tigers. Fangraphs is projecting Matt Manning. I tried to do some research. I couldn't. You haven't saw any actual concrete information on that?
No, I actually have not seen anything. I'm hoping that it's Matt Manning, just because he's won baseball games in the MLB for us the last couple of years. We had Kaiser Montero came up yesterday to fill in for Casey Mize, because it was supposed to be Casey Mize, and now he's on the IL. So I'm not quite sure what they're going to do with Manning, because when they sent him down in the first place, they made it very clear that they were giving him things to work on, and he was going to be down there for a while. And in his time down there, he's sitting at about a 5 ERA. So I'm not quite sure if they're going to call him up, and I don't think they will. I think I'm leaning that they'll probably go with a bullpen game. So you could see a guy like Bo Brisky, who started for us before. They did a bullpen game last week where they had an opener for Kaiser Montero, who then pitched like the middle 5 innings. So I'm not quite sure what they're going to do. I'm leaning bullpen game, but you could see Matt Manning. Chances are low, so I'd probably say bullpen game.
Matt Manning did throw 5 shutout innings against the Louisville Bats last week. So shout out to Matt Manning for that. The Reds will have Hunter Green, so that obviously
it's not going to be pretty.
That on paper looks good, but you know what? As we've seen this year, throw a lot of stuff out the window in individual games because you never know what happened. And then Sunday, Graham Ashcraft. Obviously, Graham Ashcraft's last start at Yankee Stadium. I think we all had about the lowest expectations you could possibly have for a game. And what do you know? The Reds win the game. Ashcraft pitches pretty well. But the floor is yours, Jimmy. Tell us about Mr. Skubal, Cy Young candidate.
Yeah, I mean, Skubal, he's got to win the Cy Young. That's really all I'm holding out hope for the rest of the season as we continue to lose 5-6 games a week. But I expect them to beat the Reds on Sunday, and partially that's because I want them to win because it is also my birthday. But yeah, Screwball he's dominant. It'll be fun to watch. You'll see him touch hopefully 100, 101 a couple times throughout the game. He doesn't let many guys on. Obviously, his whip is under 1. Strikes a lot of guys out, and yeah, it's gonna be fun. I think going up against Ashcraft, who recently, obviously, like you said, had a good start in New York, brings a little bit more to that game from the Reds side of things, because again, at the end of the day, the Tigers lineup is very bad. So I think I'm also expecting a low scoring game on Sunday, probably like a 4-3-ish, 3-2 type of game, and whoever wins the pitching duel, which is usually Tarek Screwball, will win that game.
Yeah, the Detroit Tigers struggling offensively this year. You mentioned, obviously, we talked about Riley Green and Matt Vierling already. Those are the only 2 Tigers hitters with OPSs over 700 right now. Yep. How's our boy Javier Baez doing this year, Jimmy?
He's not doing great. He's down in Toledo on a rehab assignment right now.
Is it a rehab assignment?
Yeah, one of those. Yeah. No, I'm kind of at my end. I'm done fighting for him. I think he's enjoying the contract that he has, and not much else that he has to worry about. But yeah, he's slated to come back after this Red series, come back up from Toledo. And honestly, as much as I hate on him because he doesn't hit the ball ever, we do need him in the infield. We've kind of struggled with platooning Ryan Kreidler and Zach McKinstry, who both also can't hit, but then Ryan Kreidler, who is a AAA shortstop making errors night in and night out. It's rough. We need Javi back as much as I hate to admit it.
The way Jimmy's talking, the Detroit Tigers are about to come into Cincinnati and put up 30 runs in this 3-game series. I don't like this combo, Nick.
I don't either.
It's hard for me to continue to be positive because it's been so long since the Tigers have been good. They haven't made the playoffs. They're coming on 10 years now. So things are bleak. It's not great, but I hope they win this series just so I can hold that over Elliott's head for the rest of the summer. But
it would track very well if the Reds get swept by the Tigers this weekend, because off the bench is off today, off tomorrow. Reds sweep the Yankees, so you guys won't even talk about an incredible sweep of the Yankees.
I know.
Get to come. It feels like, I'm telling you, I'm tempted to look back through this year, because I swear that the Reds' record on the night before off the benches, so I guess it would be Sunday through Thursday, has to be way worse than Thursday or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever, the other days, because it feels like every time the Reds have had a big moment, there's no off the bench the next day.
Yeah, the Dodgers series.
Yeah, exactly. It just it seems like it's gone that way. So, but Jimmy, appreciate you coming on. I love the insight into the Tigers. Great to get some real perspective as opposed to just two guys who watched, I bet on the Tigers a couple times, but I don't think I've actually watched the games. Shout out to the Tigers. Shout out to the Tigers today. A winning money line bet because they had the two-run auto win.
Well, they lost 12-3. So
hey, they were doesn't matter, Jimmy. They were up 3-1 at one point. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
But what I've been telling myself after the game today is that it actually finished in the 7th because of a rain delay. So I've been telling myself maybe they would have come back. You never know. I guess we'll never know.
All right, Jimmy. Well, happy early birthday, my friend. Really appreciate you coming on last minute, helping us preview the Tigers, and we'll catch up again at some point.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited for the series, and I'm hoping the Tigers can take 2 or 3. but we'll see.
I'm hoping not, but I wish you the best, Jimmy.
Yeah, we'll see. Go Tigers. I'll see you guys.
Take care.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Jimmy Clicks. That was great. I love to have a Jimmy on. Kind of get his perspective on the series. All right, well, I got to get out of here because I got to go to a minor league baseball game in like 10 minutes. But let's minor league action. We did have a couple that went final. The ACL Reds lost 7-1 to the ACL White Sox. Sheng-In Lin 1-for-4. Out in the DSL Rojas were off today, but the DSL Reds, they split a doubleheader with the DSL Royals Ventura. Yacol Soriano is the guy that I was told I have to start talking about, and he's having a great year. He was 2-for-7 in the 2 games with a walk today. Plenty of minor league baseball tonight. Of course, I will be at the Dayton Dragons at Lake County, so I'll try to give you a report on the Chatterbox Reds podcast in the morning. Daytona's at St. Lucie at 6:10. Chattanooga, they host the Tennessee Lookouts. That's the Cubs affiliate at 7:15. And then at 6:35, Lyon Richardson will be on the mound for the Louisville Bats. Jacob Hurtaby's batting leadoff on the 4th of July. I mean, does anything sound better than that? So 6:35, Jacob Hurtaby's leading off 4th of July. Nothing more American than that. One more thing before we do the weird pillow thing we do. I saw a comment here from Willie. And I this comment is so perfect. It's Willie said, I've been watching a Yankees podcast. They call losing to the Reds a total disgrace. Don't give the Reds any credit. Very poor losers. I get that, but we do the exact same thing. So the Reds lose a series to the Tigers. We're going to be doing the exact same thing. It's all the Reds' fault. When we never give the other team credit, or it's funny how that works in baseball. So again, you don't want to get too this series was awesome. We don't want to get too high on this series, just like I don't think we should get too low. The next low point, you got to try to ride the waves of a 162 game season. But hey, the Reds have continued to keep putting themselves in a position where they have a chance. And for at times where we were this year, having a chance is pretty cool. And I'm excited to see how the rest of this season plays out. These next 10 games, it's a massive opportunity. There is absolutely no guarantee in the world that the Reds will do anything. Reds might go 5-5. They may struggle. That would be brutal to struggle through it. But they have an opportunity here in these next 10 games to completely flip everyone's narrative about this team going into the All-Star break. Any final thoughts, Craig?
Well, before we do pillows, we got 2 more super chats we got to get to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Juan chimes in for $1.99. Captain Jack and Lisan Al Gaib to the moon. And Willie, you already put up. I guess that was the only super chat. Willie, you put up already. You just started.
Willie got a free chat. Willie got a free
to come back to. Nick, I know you got to go, but real quick, very hard hitting sports entertainment news. The Nathan's hot dog eating contest was today.
Disgusting. It's disgusting.
Eric
it's
Badlands
gross.
Booker, new world record. Full gallon of lemonade in 21 seconds.
Gross.
Pseudo 10th straight women's hot dog eating contest. 51 hot dogs in 10 minutes. No Joey Chestnut on the men's side. Patrick Bertoletti wins it with 58 hot dogs in 10 minutes. Nick, how many hot dogs are you going to eat at the Dayton Dragons game today?
None. I never want to eat a hot dog again after ever hearing about that stupid, disgusting disgrace of an American activity. They disgrace the 4th of July and everything this country stands for by wasting hot dogs. First off, it's a waste of food. And second off, it's disgusting. I don't know why anyone wants to watch that. It's gross. Get out of here.
Tell us.
You know who also finds it gross? Nick Cage finds it gross. Nick Cage does not like hot dog contests. Nick Cage is better than that. Sweep the Yankees. Sweep the Yankees, Craig. They did it. Oh, he's just going to keep showing me Nick Cage's eyeball.
Big sweep, Nick. Big homestand coming up. Great show.
Cameron, this is worse than your Star Wars take, Nick. Well, I got some bad takes. I'll have some more before this year is over. I also don't really like fireworks all that much. I think fireworks are overrated. So I'm just going to throw them out here on the way out of here.
Everybody stay safe tonight. Don't drink and drive. Enjoy the fireworks if you're going to watch. If you're just going to stay home and grill out, enjoy yourself. Happy birthday, America.
Happy birthday, America. Craig, appreciate you as always. Have a great 4th. Go Reds.